So let's take a break from our recycler adapter here. It's fairly ready for us. So let's go to our journal list here activity and set things up so that we can actually hopefully be able to see a few things showing on the screen. So first of all, we need to come up here on the top of our journal list activity and add a few instance variables. One thing we need to do here, I'm going to add a private list, which will contain our journal. Okay, I'm going to call this journal list. I'm going to also say private recycler view, because we need that, call recycler view. And I'm going to also get our recycler view adapter. Okay, we just worked on, call this journal recycler view adapter. And of course, I'm going to go ahead and get our collection reference. Collection reference is equal to db.collection, and I'm going to pass in journal like that. Very good. And I'm going to go ahead and say private text view. I'm going to text view, and this is going to be no journal entry. Okay, remember this is the text view we added on top of recycle view to make sure that if there's no journals that were detected, it was just going to show that text, right? So the users know what to do. So going back inside here of our own create, we have our user, we created that. Let's go instantiate our journal because this is the easiest thing to forget, and then we run into issues and it's never fun. These are new array list, okay, for our journal list. So let's go ahead and say no journal entry find by r.id dot no journal list no thoughts. That's what we called it. Very good. And I'm going to come here and say recycler view is equal to find by r.id dot recycler view. So there's only one in our entire application, so we don't need to check. I'm going to say recycler view dot set has fixed to true. Okay, to make sure the sizes are fixed. And I'm going to say recycler view dot set layout manager. Oops, let's see, set layout manager, new linear layout manager such, pass this as context. Very good. So that's where we're going to stop for now. So we have everything set up for us. Now, where do we go and get the data, all of our journals from our reference here, from our, let's go back down here, from our documents? Well, we get all of that inside of our own start, because this is where it's recommended we actually query our storage reference. The first thing, of course, I'm going to go ahead and get our collection reference. I'm going to say where clause, because I want to make sure to only get all of the documents, all of the journals pertaining to this current user. So that's where we use the where equal to. Well, the field we're going to pass here is going to be user ID, because that's what we need. Is going to be equal to journal API. There we go. Get instance dot get user ID. See how easy that is, right? So we're saying here, whenever we go to our collection, we want to make sure to get all this stuff pertaining to this current user. How do we get our current user? Well, it's going to be journal API, get instance, and get user ID. So the user ID of the person who's now logged in. Very good. Let me put this on the second line here. And then, of course, I'm going to say dot get and send add on success listener, new on success listener. And I'm going to also add that add on failure listener, new on failure listener. Of course, on the success listener here, this is where we can query our document snapshot. So at this point here, we will have all of the documents, all of the journals of the user who is logged in. So it could be Gina, could be James, or could be Paul or Paulo. But remember, as we get all of those documents, as we get all of those journals, we want to add them into our list, journal list, because it is this journal list that will contain all of these journals that we're going to feed into our recycle view. Right? So what we need to do here is I'm going to query everything through. But before we do anything, I'm going to checked to make sure that our query documents is not empty. Okay, make sure to put that exclamation mark there. Okay, so if it's not empty, else, of course, we do something else there. So if it's not empty, I'm going to query through. I'm going to say for query document snapshot. I'm going to call this journals, like that, inside of our query document snapshots that we're getting. Okay, so for each item that we're getting from query document snapshot, we're going to put inside of this variable journals, which is of type query document snapshot. All right, this is what we call the advanced, if you will, for loop. It's quite nice. I like that. All right, so what are we going to do here? Well, first of all, I'm going to create a journal object here. Is equal to what? It's going to be equal to journals dot to object, because we want to map all the objects that we're getting from our query documents into an actual journal type. Okay, so I'm going to pass here journal dot class. Very good. So as we all go through here, we are going to add into our journal list and say add, we pass our journal. So each time we go through, we're going to get all the journals of the person, the user who has this current user ID, so the logged in user. So outside of our for loop here, this is where we're going to go invoke recycler view. Well, how do we do that? Well, simply, we're going to go ahead and create our journal recycler adapter here. It's going to be equal to new journal recycler adapter. We need to pass the context. Well, the context is going to be our journal list.this, and I'm going to pass our list, because that's what we said. We're feeding our list, which will contain all of the journal objects. All right, and then I'm going to say recycler view at this point here dot set adapter, because we have our adapter now, passing our journal adapter there, and I'm going to make sure to also set the notify data set changed. That way it knows how to update itself if something changes, it being the recycler view adapter. Okay, so what I'm going to do now here, else, meaning else if our document is indeed empty. Remember our no journal text view? Yes, I'm going to set visibility to view visible, so the users know, okay, this is the first time they have logged in. There's nothing, so they have to go and they have to click up and go and add a new one. All right, that's it. All right, looks like everything is good. Okay, time of truth, moment of truth here. I'm going to go ahead and give it a run, log in, and see what's going to happen. Now remember, whoever I log in, could be Paulo or Gina or whoever else, they should have already a few items they've had it before. So we should see something in our list activity. Okay, there we go. Get started. Let's go back to paulo@me.com. Password. Let's log in. It's thinking. And voila. Okay, let's add a new one here. Okay, hey there, my new thought, save, it's thinking, should take us to the list, and look at that, voila, you can see it's working and all the images are showing. All right, how wonderful is that? Some other things we're going to do for the user interface, but you can see here it is indeed working. So we have the image, we have the title, we have the actual thought, and look at that. It says 1 hour ago. This is when we added this. And this one was 12 hours ago. That was yesterday when I recorded this, 13 hours ago. So the ago, 0 minutes ago, this was the most recent one. Very cool. All right. So it is indeed working. And if I want to add another one, click here, takes me back to where I can add. I'm going to add, let's see what other image I can use here. Oh, I don't want that one. I want the last one, which is this one here. Okay. Alone with my thoughts, still thinking about life and development. Let's go ahead and save. And voila, you can see Alone with My Thoughts 0 minutes ago. And there we go. All right, very good, very good. So things are indeed working. Okay, like I said, there's a few other things we need to do here for the user interface, like adding the name of the person, us, even though we know it's us, right? Because we're logged in, but it's nice to have our name somewhere here, and other cosmetics. But the basics here, folks, it is done. Everything is working perfectly. Okay, so now if you're having issues, if something is not working, I would suggest you go back to the previous videos and rewatch them and look at the code, because you will have access to all of this code anyway. So look at the code and make sure that you didn't miss any step. So there is a lot of moving parts as we coded, especially on our recycle adapter, recycle view. You notice there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of code that we added, and so it can be a little bit easy to forget maybe one piece of code, or maybe get mixed up with the IDs and so forth. So be very careful, extra careful when you do all of that, so that you don't end up with errors. Okay, well, in the next video, we're going to look at some cosmetics, making things a little bit better, adding a little bit more text, and all the cool stuff. All right, so congratulations if you got to this point, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.